Hi beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about why beautiful women are accused of being immoral and where this stems from, with hopes that it will help you as a beautiful woman, conventionally attractive woman, what have you, navigate life and help you overcome challenges that you may experience as a result of being demonized, if you will. Have you ever noticed that beautiful women, while they are valued for being beautiful, we like to look at good looking women, we like to admire good looking women. They're a source of motivation for us in terms of our own level up journeys, whether it's to get makeup inspiration, fashion inspiration, inspiration on how we can curate our entire look in general. Beautiful women are pedestalized and seen as a commodity for the greater good, if you will. But on the flip side, on the same side of that coin, beautiful women are often attached or associated with the Jezebel trope. And the Jezebel trope is basically any negative stereotype associated with beauty is often attached to beautiful women. So if for those of you who don't know, Jezebel was a queen in the Bible who pretty much she was evil. She oppressed people. The Bible did note that she was beautiful, so she was a very good looking woman. She wasn't average, but Jezebel was vile. She unalived many people. She oppressed many people, and she pretty much I think she was a queen consort. So I don't think she was a direct descendant to the throne, but her husband, King Ahab, I think he was the king, like that was his birthright, that was his title. And then she became queen because she married him. And so in Jewish traditions, it was the man's role. If you were not a queen, like Queen Elizabeth, who was a descendant to the throne, if you were not a descendant to the throne, it was your job to sort of just support your husband and kind of just sit back and let him take the lead. But she did not allow her husband to take the lead. That was partially because Ahab didn't want to take the lead. He was very passive. And so she kind of stepped in, and that was considered to be a faux pas. But she kind of stepped in and kind of enacted her own rules and what she thought was right. And so that was frowned upon because, again, women who were queen consorts or princesses were supposed to kind of sit back and allow the men to lead. In a nutshell, she was unapologetically beautiful. She was very outspoken. She was very aggressive. She was very confident. She pretty much had the characteristics that we affix to men. These are desirable characteristics that we cherish in men, but whenever a woman is outspoken, whenever a woman is confident in her beauty, even though we value that beauty in women, it's frowned upon. As an extension to that, whenever there are any other negative characteristics that a beautiful woman possesses, we kind of label her, or even if she kind of is not, she doesn't have any negative characteristics, but she operates outside of what is acceptable. So for example, you're a pretty slim woman from a conservatively Christian family, and you kind of don't shy away from that. You dress up, you put on makeup, you do your hair and things like that. People will automatically, even though they don't know you yet, they haven't gotten to know you, they don't know your personality. Maybe you're shy, maybe you don't really speak well to people, but you dress well. The fact that you are confident enough in your beauty and you let that shine, you're not demure and mindful and cutesy with your beauty, if you will, people will automatically affix the fact that you are comfortable in your beauty and you don't hide it as a negative stereotype to your character. So some terms that people will use and affix to the Jezebel trope is that you're a witch if you're smart. So if you kind of are smarter than the average person, maybe in your social setting, maybe you were the first one to go to university, or maybe just as a kid, you've always read books and you've always been inquisitive. Women used to be burned at the stake, if you will, for being smart and for being inquisitive, because they would say, oh, no, she's a witch. Like women do not genetically possess the characteristics to be able to do these things. So, no, she must be a witch. She must be tapping into some sort of supernatural source to do this. And so if you were beautiful and smart, you are a witch. Or if you were beautiful and comfortable in your body, you had positive body image, especially if you were curvy or maybe you're slim but you have a full bust, or you just feel confident like in wearing things that the average woman who looks like you don't wear. For example, like if you're from the Caribbean, those of you who know, Caribbean women, especially like bigger women, they wear shorts, t-shirts, and shower caps to the beach. Whereas like the average woman would wear a bathing suit. Maybe it's a one-piece bathing suit, maybe it's a bikini. And so maybe you, because you got a good shape, you're in shape, you wear a bikini to the beach, they would kind of label you as a slut or as a whore because you're showing off your body, and you must only be doing it because you want male attention, and because you're showing off your beauty, that's a sign that you are propositioning men for sexual acts, if you will. So if you're beautiful and confident in your body, you have that negative stereotype attached to you. If you're beautiful and you get along with men, so they often come to your rescue, you're often assumed to be a homewrecker. So I've seen this in like church settings where like a young lady, she was beautiful and she was very polite, she was well spoken. She would often be accused of being a homewrecker because men would come to her defense and would always like go out of their way to help her. And it's like, instead of telling the men to exercise healthy boundaries with women who are not their family members, they would automatically place the blame on the pretty girl because, it's always the woman's fault whenever a man steps out on his marriage or on his relationship because, men can't think for themselves and women are always the ones to blame because Jezebel and Eve and blah, blah, blah. Or if you're a woman who's confident, you don't take disrespect. That's one humbling tactic that people will use against beautiful women, is that they will try to disrespect you as a way to humble you and make you kind of deflate your ego or what they perceive to be your ego. So maybe you're just minding your own business and I don't know, you don't walk with your head down. You're not shy. People see that as a sign of confidence, and people who are insecure would see that as a sign of you being haughty and you being arrogant, if you will. And so they say, oh, she's a bitch. If you speak up and say, no, I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate you speaking to me in that manner. Or, I would like to set up and reinforce this boundary. You're a bitch. Because as a woman, your job is to be in servitude towards others. And a part of that is, and especially as a beautiful woman, you're supposed to use your beauty in servitude to others. So one thing that Christians like to say is that your beauty is a ministry. Like God gave you beauty to kind of serve others. And they get that from the story of Queen Esther, where she was literally, the opportunity was presented where she was selected to become queen. The king of Persia was looking for a new queen. And because she was beautiful, she was chosen. And because she was chosen, she was able to petition the king and let her know that her people, including herself, were going to be executed because of a plot from one of the king's advisors. And so people say, oh, God created her to be beautiful so that she could be a queen for such a time as this. And maybe that was true for specifically Esther, and maybe it wasn't. Like, a woman being beautiful has a lot to do with her genetics. Okay, it has a lot to do with how your parents look, and it has a lot to do with how people in your family look, in your extended family look. And that's why some people, they only procreate. It's a form of natural selection. A lot of affluent families would do this, especially in a lot of Chinese dynasties. They would only procreate with certain families, number one, who had wealth and legacy to pass on, but number two, who had strong genes so that they could pass those desirable genes on to their offspring and make their children desirable physically, but also make them desirable socially and financially. There's a basic factor, which is genetics, that goes into being beautiful. But sometimes people will say, oh, it's not by chance, like God created you beautiful to serve others. And while I believe that you should use your beauty as an opportunity to social climb, I've said that before, whether it's doing pageantry, modeling, simply just looking good and playing off of the fact that people like beautiful women, I don't necessarily believe that your beauty is always in servitude to others. I believe that it should be in servitude to yourself first. And then whatever happens after as a byproduct happens as a byproduct. But if you're a woman who has this belief and you're kind of self-serving, people think that if you're self-serving, that means that you throw people under the bus and you'll kind of grovel and do whatever it takes to get ahead, and therefore you're a bitch, which is also another misconception, because people who are truly focused on upward mobility, social climbing, they're not worried about what other people are doing. They understand the importance of forming allies and partnerships and not burning bridges, because they understand that there may be a time where you need that person that you worked with in the past. And if you burn that bridge, you can't cross over it. So they're not conspiring in the background to, burn bridges and step all over people. They understand social strategy, and a part of that social strategy is getting people to like you. I noticed that beautiful women have to carry this Jezebel trope because pretty girls get ahead with less effort, while less conventionally attractive women have to work harder. And so this is seen as unfair. I'll hear people say things like, oh, beauty doesn't count as a skill, or it doesn't count as an attribute like the way that intelligence and smarts does, because you didn't have to do anything to work for it. And it's like, okay, you didn't have to do anything to work for your physical looks, but you do also you need to maintain your looks and even enhance your looks in order for your beauty to shine. So you need to take care of your skin and make sure that it's free of acne. You need to make sure that you find a hairstyle that complements and frames your face properly. You need to make sure that you do your eyebrows in a certain way so that it will complement your face as well. For me, if my eyebrows are too dark, it does not look good. So all I have to do is like pencil in my eyebrows very, very lightly and use a gel to keep it in place. And that's it. So there is a lot of planning and effort that goes into enhancing your looks. There are a lot of pretty girls out there who hide and diminish their beauty because they don't know how to find a look that works for them. And so, yes, there's a lot of effort that goes into that. It's also disingenuous to say that intelligence is a legitimate gift, if you will, because there's a lot of people who are smart, but anyone who knows, especially if you remember from school days, you have to practice and you have to study in order to, number one, maintain your smarts, and number two, to get smarter. So the same thing applies. Same with athleticism. If you have a naturally athletic body, you have to eat right. You have to work out consistently to maintain that figure and not let yourself go, essentially. So beauty is a legitimate gift, if you will. It's a legitimate attribute. And the only people who like to downplay are people who either don't have it or who have not figured out how to capitalize off of it. Beautiful women are also attached to the Jezebel trope because it's seen as unfair that a beautiful woman doesn't have to do as much as others to get ahead, while men, even though they also benefit from pretty privilege, and less attractive women must work a bit harder to achieve the same thing. So I kind of touched upon this in the previous note, but people pretty much don't like when things are not fair. But as I've said before in previous videos, life is not fair. It's about playing chess and not checkers. You have to have a strategy in order to get ahead, because we live in a capitalist society where it's about pretty much survival of the fittest, and those who have the resources and who know how to play the game will be on top, while those who do not have the resources and those who refuse or do not know how to play the game will remain at the bottom. And so people subconsciously who do not have pretty privilege, they kind of see this, and instead of working on ways to maximize their privilege, they hate on the pretty woman and attach one of those negative stereotypes to her as a way for them to reconcile and, I guess, feel better about the fact that they have to work harder. And it's even strange when I hear this talking point from men, because it's like, you literally live in a patriarchal society where society was built by your fellow man. It was built to make you win. So why aren't you willing to do the work to figure it out so that you can get ahead? Like when I hear these red pill losers complaining about, oh, women have it easier and women don't have to work as hard, that just tells me you as a man have not tapped into using patriarchy to your advantage, regardless of skin color, because patriarchy exists around the world, most cultures and every society. But that just tells me that you haven't done the work to tap into it, and now you're bitter and upset at women who have tapped into their gift of femininity and pretty privilege for them to get ahead. These women are playing the game in a world full of patriarchy, and they're doing whatever it takes to get ahead. And because you haven't, you've managed to not be able to do this, you're salty. And so you tap into a feminine trait of being jealous and bitter and angry, and you gossip on the internet instead of working like real masculine men to make their dreams and reality come true. So, as a result, women in general are taught to be humble and downplay their beauty to level the playing field and to not be accused of being one of the negative stereotypes that I mentioned. So, being a witch, being a slut, being a homewrecker, being a bitch, etc. And to also not be accused of being a temptress who used her beauty to get ahead. So, feminine beauty isn't something that everyone possesses, including some women. So it's often regarded as spellbinding. So, you'll hear like about a couple who had an affair, like a man who had an affair, and it's always the woman, especially in religious settings, it's always the woman's fault. Oh, she tempted him, she beguiled him. She has that Delilah spirit where she lured him with her sexual prowesses and he became subdued, even though the man was well aware of what he was doing. So, if you're a woman who has experienced any of these things, don't internalize these talking points. You really do not benefit from trying to diminish yourself in order to appease others. The only thing that you'll achieve from that is that you'll end up resenting others and yourself, and you're really going to hold yourself back from being able to achieve your full potential. If people are pointing this trope or these stereotypes towards you, I really encourage you to get away from people like those immediately, because they won't stop and they will try to sabotage your growth and your progress. And just move forward. Get around people who have upward thinking, get around people who are growing and expanding in life. Maybe get a mentor to help you achieve, whether it's business, your career, whatever it is. Speak to a therapist, because it really is liberating to hear from others, but also from a professional perspective, that you are not what these people say you are. And it's very validating when they're able to affirm you and kind of help you move past these stereotypes. So I'd highly encourage you to get connected like that. And again, like, make some new friends, some new allies, get away from family members who try to hold you down because they just see you as competition and they see your strength and they want to dim that light so that you do not progress further in life. Okay? Let me know what you think about this video down below in the comments. Have you experienced anything like this? How did you get over it? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.